إن الله ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم.
Assalamu alaikum, our viewers. May the peace and blessings of Allah be on you all. I'd like to welcome you once again on our program, Truth Unveiled. On this program, we discuss a number of topics, and today we are going to talk about the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. I would like to remind you that this program does not intend to debase or attack the personality of any person we are talking about, and whatever is discussed is in good faith. Crucifixion, from a language point of view, is a method of capital punishment whereby the victim is nailed or tied on a wooden beam, which otherwise can be called a cross, and is left to hang until he dies of either exhaustion or suffocation. From the historical perspective, crucifixion was a method of capital punishment used particularly by the Persians and the Romans between the 6th century BC and the 4th century AD. However, in the 4th century CE, Emperor Constantine II abolished it majorly out of his veneration for Jesus Christ. Today in the studios, I have two guests. On my right is Sheikh Adam Hamid Sembaje. He's the General Secretary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Uganda. You're very much welcome. Can you say salam to our viewers?
Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alongside him is Sheikh Faisal Chiemba. Sheikh Faisal Chiemba is the officer Jalsa Salana, which is an annual convention of the Ahmadiyya. Can you say salam to our viewers?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Gentlemen, you're very much welcome.
Thank you very much.
Crucifixion is not a new concept. It has been around, and we can say up to now it is still around. The world over today, in some countries, we see people volunteering themselves. They offer themselves to be crucified for some reasons. However, the popular Christian view is that Jesus Christ offered himself willingly to be crucified for one major reason of atoning the whole of mankind. Gentlemen, today my viewers and I would like to know, do you also as Muslims subscribe to the same view?
No, we don't believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross and thereby atoned the sins of mankind.
Why not?
There are a number of reasons why we come to that conclusion.
That is exactly what we would like to know. The viewers would like to know why you as Muslims do not subscribe, because in the life history of Jesus Christ, we cannot talk about his life ministry. His life ministry cannot be complete without the aspect of crucifixion. So the Christian point of view is that Jesus offered himself willingly to be crucified on the cross for atonement for the whole of mankind.
Just like I've already informed you that we, Ahmadiyya Muslim community, we do not believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross and thereby atoned the sins of mankind. And to arrive at that conclusion, or to understand where we come from believing that way, you will have to assess the related events before the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and the related events during the actual crucifixion of Jesus Christ and the related events after the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. When all of them are combined and assessed, you will come to a logical conclusion that indeed Jesus Christ didn't die on the cross, as it is popularly accepted.
Sheikh Adam Hamid, those are the reasons we'd like to know. In light of what happens in the life of Jesus Christ before he's put on the cross, what really takes place that makes you not believe that he offered himself willingly to be crucified?
Thank you very much. First of all, it's very important for our viewers to understand that crucifixion as a mode of punishment was abhorred in the Jewish history. And it should be well known that crucifixion is an accursed death, according to the Holy Bible. In Deuteronomy, chapter 21, verse 23, it is clearly written that crucifixion, anyone who dies on the cross, is accursed of death, of God the Almighty, which means that such a person has lost his connection with God the Almighty. So we Ahmadi Muslims who love and respect the person of Jesus Christ, we really find it hard to accept and propagate the view that Jesus Christ died an accursed death. We start from there. But then we should also remember that Jesus Christ was crucified not out of his free will. It wasn't even the will of God the Almighty, but it was the conniving of the priests who connived together, and they started planning on how they can kill Jesus Christ. And at the moment, Jesus Christ, I believe, out of information that he divinely received from God the Almighty, he came to know of their evil plans that they had about him. He went out and prayed quite a lot to God the Almighty who could save him. You can see that in the book of Luke, chapter 22, verse 41 to 43. It is clearly written that Jesus Christ very eagerly prayed the whole night over. And the good news I can give you that God the Almighty sent an angel and it strengthened him, meaning that he was given assurance that indeed God the Almighty at one point will come to his rescue. So the high priests wanted to kill him, and on the other side, Jesus Christ was praying to God the Almighty to save him. But then at another level, we also see that there was a divine plan to save the life of Jesus Christ. It all started with the dream which was seen by the wife of Pilate, the judge, before whom the case of Jesus was about to be presented. The wife of Pilate, it is also well shown. We can see it in Matthew chapter 27, verse 18. She said, and she sent a message to her husband, the judge, Pilate, and informed him that she had spent a very troublesome night when she saw a dream that Jesus Christ was innocent and the husband should not take part in mistreating him. So this also shows that there was a divine plan of God Almighty to save Jesus Christ. Not only that, Pilate, on assessing the case which was presented against Jesus Christ, remember, the enemies of Jesus Christ, the Jews at the time, the Pharisees and the priests, in fact, presented a case of a political nature, showing that Jesus Christ wanted to take up political power, and they presented the case like that. But when he examined it, in fact, he came out and said that Jesus Christ was innocent, and he doesn't see any fault in him. But again, still, the priests insisted. So he went out and even consulted the people that why should we crucify Jesus? There is no reason for him being crucified. So here we see a pattern of God the Almighty, a divine pattern to save the life of Jesus Christ. So that's why we believe that indeed the events which culminated before the death, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ from the cross indicate that there was a divine plan to save the life of Jesus Christ.
Thank you so much, Sheikh Adam Hamid. Sheikh Faisal, Jesus Christ, Son of Mary, is put on the cross. It's part of his divine plan. He's not surprised. We aren't surprised either, because we expected it. If he's not put on the cross, then there would be a missing link in his mission that brought him on earth. Do you agree, or is there anything that you have to add on to what Sheikh Adam Hamid has told us?
Yeah, supplementing what my brother here has explained very beautifully is the fact that the Ahmadiyya Muslim community believes in the fact, actually undeniable fact, that Jesus was put on the cross. But under divine plan, Jesus Christ survived death on the cross, because death on the cross for a person who is a recipient of divine revelation from God is an accursed death, as far as the Old Testament is concerned. Why are we here? We are here to discuss all that happened before Jesus was put on the cross, what happened during the time Jesus was on the cross, and what transpired after he was brought or removed from the cross. If we look at whatever happened in totality, even if we disregard the other books that did not make it into the New Testament canon, and we rely on the 4 Gospels or the 27 books of the New Testament, we will come to a conclusion that God executed his plan and Jesus Christ survived the death on the cross. For your information, an accursed death on the cross. To add on what happened, which my brother has very beautifully explained, because he cited the prayer of Jesus Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane, the fervent and intense supplications that Jesus offered, asking God to save him from the cup of the accursed death. That prayer, for your information, was answered. That is what we are told in a letter written by Paul to the Hebrews, that his prayer was heard. Now, we come again to the dream that was seen by the wife of Pilate. That is very, very important, because when the wife of Pilate got that dream, he communicated and conveyed that message to her husband. And he said that have nothing to do with this man. Now we have to see the attitude of Pilate from that particular point. What did he do to try and save Jesus from dying an accursed death, despite the fact that Jesus Christ was put on the cross? First of all, you know, Sabbath was fast approaching, and it was the custom of the Roman Empire to release a prisoner on the day of the Passover. So Pilate came up with a plan of asking the Jewish crowds that should I release Barabbas, the murderer, the criminal who was in prison at that time, and he had committed seditious offenses against the Roman Empire. But you can imagine from here that these Jewish crowds, having been incited by the Jewish priests, what was their reply? The reply is still in the New Testament, that we don't want to hear about that offer. By releasing a murderer, Barabbas, what we want is to have Jesus crucified. You can see now that on the part of Pilate, there was an effort, a concerted effort to save Jesus Christ. When that one failed, he made it clear to the Jewish crowds that he has nothing to do with this. He called the chief priests and talked to them and said, I find no fault with this man. These are the words in the New Testament. Why should he be crucified? So he tries to pass over the responsibility to his superior, Herod Antipas. Herod Antipas reviews the case, and the case of Jesus Christ comes back to Pilate. So Pilate now is in a dilemma. The New Testament tells us that he washes his hands because the Jewish crowds are determined to see that Jesus Christ is crucified. So politicians are politicians. He had to give in because they were threatening to stage a riot. But a politician always has two plans, plan A and plan B. In the events that occurred during crucifixion, we will see what was Pilate's plan B.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chiemba. Our viewers, Truth Unveiled is the program, and we are discussing the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. For your questions or comments, you can reach us at africa@mta.tv. Gentlemen, in your explanations, Jesus prays fervently. Pilate, the politician, comes up with plans of saving Jesus Christ, but he fails. All that done, Jesus still is put on the what? On the cross, and he dies there. There is biblical evidence in the Gospel of St. John that when the Roman soldiers come to Jesus Christ, they find him already dead. This is why they didn't bother to break his what? His legs. Share them.
Yes, please.
Unless you have any scriptural evidence to the contrary, Jesus dies on the cross.
First, it's very important for us to emphasize the fact that Jesus spent a whole night praying to God the Almighty, and he had his trust in him. And the prayer of Jesus Christ was a very humble one. In that prayer, he said that, may you take away this cup, not as I will, but may your will be done. You may have thought that Jesus would have been saved at the first instance of arrest. He wasn't. Maybe at the court, still the case was decided against him. Maybe when he was going to be nailed. It was up to God the Almighty at the beginning, at the middle, or at the end of the process where he wanted to save his humble servant, Jesus Christ. But when we interrogate the procedure or the events which took place during the crucifixion, we really come to a very different conclusion. And indeed, we see the hand of God working behind to save the life of his humble servant, Jesus Christ. But the verses that you have quoted should be read in light of the view that the disciples of Jesus Christ, all of them, according to Mark 14:50, they had forsaken him and they had fled. So from whom are we getting this information that Jesus Christ was seen dead on the cross? There were no eyewitnesses to the crucifixion. By eyewitnesses, I mean the disciples of Jesus. All of them had fled. Are we taking this evidence from the enemies of Jesus Christ? But even then, when we interrogate and we see and we examine the events that took place, as they are well documented in the Holy Bible, really, you will clearly see that Jesus Christ miraculously survived death on the cross. For example, it is well documented in the Bible. By the way, the Bible has been translated into many languages, but there is a phrase which has been maintained in the Bible for its importance. That is the phrase which says, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That, oh my Lord, why have you abandoned me? Link this with the prayer of Jesus Christ, where at the end of the prayer, the angel comes and strengthens him. Now here, Jesus knew and he understood by that indeed God was about to save him in his own way, as Jesus Christ prayed. But here he was asking, he was pleading in agony that, oh my Lord, have you abandoned me? And here I am going to die a death which is accursed. No, I don't believe that God the Almighty, even for a second, did he abandon his beloved servant, Jesus Christ. This cry shows the confidence that Jesus Christ had in prayer, as he says somewhere else in the Bible, that, oh my Lord, wherever I pray to you, you answer me. So from there, we also see that a certain disciple of Jesus Christ, certain gentleman who was there, he comes and he puts a sponge, dips it in vinegar, and puts it on the nose of Jesus Christ up with two purposes. This should be really well understood. The purpose of placing this vinegar on the nose of Jesus Christ was to sedate his pain, so that he doesn't feel that much pain out of the crucifixion and the nails that were driven into his palm, into his feet. And secondly, the other purpose was that he may pass out. And then they would have the opportunity to come and say, yes, he's dead, give us the body. But he had just passed out, he was unconscious, and he wasn't dead at that time. So these events and others point to the fact that somehow God the Almighty had a divine plan to save his humble servant, Jesus Christ.
Gentlemen, Truth Unveiled is our program, and we are discussing the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. We have dealt with the first question. You are refuting the fact that Jesus offered himself willingly to be crucified.
That is very clear.
Secondly, you're also saying Jesus never died on the cross. Here comes my question. Share them.
Yes, please.
What happened to that Jesus Christ who left alive from the cross? Because biblical evidence is there that from the cross, Jesus is taken directly to the tomb. It beats my reason, with due respect.
Oh, yeah.
It beats my reason and understanding to imagine that a living person is taken to the tomb.
Is being taken to the tomb.
One, I did indicate it to you that there were no eyewitnesses to the event among the disciples of Jesus Christ.
Even the writers of the Gospels are not eyewitnesses. The Gospels we have here were written a minimum of 70 years after the event of crucifixion. I'm sorry for the interruption.
Please, welcome. Welcome, thank you very much. One thing that is very much important for us to realize is the hurriedly nature of the disciples of Jesus to come and ask for the body, very hurriedly. Let's have the body, let's take it. Whereas Pilate had already indicated, could he die in such a short time? Nowadays, people in, especially in the Philippines, a predominantly Catholic country, offer themselves to be to be put on the cross, to be hanged on the cross. And they remain on the cross for the whole day, 12 hours. And all of them come down when they are okay, when they are fine. It means, by the way, it should be well understood. When people see that nails are being put into the palm of Jesus Christ and in the feet of Jesus Christ, many people are of the view that one dies because of those nails. But we see people being nailed in the same way, spend 12 hours on the cross and nothing, and they don't die.
They come.
Scientifically and medically, it is proven that those who are hanged, those who are crucified, who are hanged on the cross, they don't die out of these nails. No. Like, as you rightly pointed it out in your introduction, they die out of either exhaustion or suffocation.
Yeah, and
because the lungs are filled with water,
yeah,
with fluids.
Exactly.
So they are suffocated like that.
And if you break the legs of the victim, you hasten the process of death. In Jesus' case,
they were not broken.
The legs were spared.
Where does Jesus go after that?
Now, Jesus, as he was taken down from the cross, the purpose was to take him for treatment. The Jesus who was brought down from the cross was not dead, but was unconscious. And indeed, where he was taken, though some people refer to it as a tomb, but hundreds and millions of people have gone where Jesus was placed. They walk in alive and they walk in out. It is a cave. He was taken into a cave.
A cave-like tomb.
A cave-like tomb, in which pilgrims, many Christians, many tourists go into the same cave and they came out. It is not a tomb where soil is dug out. There is a hole, a dead body is put, or a body is put there, and then the soil put back. There you would die. But this is a cave, more or less a room.
Spacious enough.
It's spacious enough.
And airy.
With the oxygen and everything. And people go there and they come out. And they don't die because they have been into the tomb. So that indicates that he was still alive. And what was done to him? At the moment he was put into that cave, they went ahead and Nicodemus prepared 100 pounds of myrrh and aloe. These are two herbs which are very well known to be antiseptic and anti-inflammatory. And the purpose of them is to stop the bleeding and to treat the wounds. Otherwise, some people say that it was done because it is a custom of the Jews to embalm their bodies, to embalm their dead. But the Jews are still alive. Nowhere have we seen any Jew applying such emblem. And these two, specifically these two herbs, are still used for the purpose of treating wounds. So when the body was put down, when Jesus was brought down, he was treated and he came around. Again, we go back and remember that Jesus Christ was asked to show a sign of his truthfulness. We have seen all that what happened, the divine plan of God the Almighty to save Jesus. We have seen it in play in the events which took place before the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, during the events that took place during the crucifixion, and even after. But then we should also remember that well before all these events, you will realize and appreciate why Jesus was crying out in agony that, oh my Lord, why have you forsaken me? The reason was that, yes, indeed, God the Almighty, through Jesus Christ, had prophesied that he would miraculously save Jesus Christ. And how was that? In Matthew 12, 39 and 40, verse 39 and 40. Jesus Christ said that an adulterous nation asked me for a sign. But no sign will be given unto them but like the sign of Jonah. And what was the sign of Prophet Jonah? Prophet Jonah was swallowed by a whale. It is assumed in a normal way that if somebody is swallowed by a whale and it swims off, such a person would die. But miraculously, Prophet Jonah, a humble servant of God, eagerly prayed to his God with all the hope. And indeed, he came out of the belly of the whale alive.
On account of time, Sheikh Adam Hamid, I'd like to cut you short.
Yes,
Sheikh Faisal, Jesus Christ was dragged to the cross, crucified.
That is the right word to use.
Died there.
He didn't go to the cross willingly.
Died there, was taken off the cross into the tomb, where he spent 3 days and resurrected and ascended to heaven. What have you got to say?
Before we get to that, the view that Jesus Christ did not die on the cross,
that's what I want to
is not shared only by the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. The same view, I believe, was shared by the Jewish priests who tried their level best to take Jesus Christ on the cross so that he dies an accursed death. Why do I say this? I say this on authority. They were not convinced that Jesus had died when he was taken down, when he was taken from the cross, when he was removed to the cross, and his, I put this in inverted commas, body was given to two of his trusted disciples, Nicodemus, the physician, and Joseph of Arimathea. These were the two most trusted disciples of Jesus Christ. That open tomb belonged to Joseph of Arimathea. So, these Jewish priests, they were not convinced.
After all, they knew one would not die in those few hours.
First of all, they had instructed Pilate to break the legs.
He did not.
Pilate forewent that instruction. Secondly, the duration
was
that
shocking.
Jesus spent on the cross hardly 6 hours was not enough for Jesus to have died on the cross. So what did the Jewish priests do? They requested Pilate that kindly deploy guards to guard Jesus' body,
That he would
to
run
guard Jesus' dead body. Where would a dead body go? They were not convinced that Jesus had died. That's why they submitted in their request to Pilate to deploy more guards. The reason they give in the Bible is very absurd. That because Jesus Christ had indicated before that he will die and rise again. So they feared that the disciples of Jesus would spread the rumor that Jesus has risen from the dead. Otherwise, guarding a dead body does not make any sense. They
Thank
were
you very
not
much.
convinced, as we are not convinced.
Thank you very much, Chef Faisal. Gentlemen, it has been a very good discussion. To our viewers, Crucifixion of Jesus Christ. On account of time, we shall have to stop here. But I would like to remind you that you can reach us for your questions and comments on africa@mta.tv. Gentlemen, in a sentence, what have you got to conclude for our viewers?
the biblical evidence, when related together, proves that Jesus Christ was heard by his God in his urgent prayers which he prayed, and indeed he survived the accursed death on the cross, and he remained a respectable prophet of God.
Chef Faisal.
I will end this discussion with the words of Jesus Christ himself. He says very clearly in the Bible that there are other ships that are not of this fold. Remember when Jesus was raised as a prophet and messenger of God, out of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel, there were only 2 tribes. So he says that there are other ships that are not of this fold. They should also hear my voice, so that there is one fold and one shepherd.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Our viewers, I'd like to thank you so much for keeping on our program. We've had Shadam Hamid from the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Uganda, and Sheikh Faisal Chiemba. I've been Abubakar Mugaya, your host. Till next time, Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much.
إن الله ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم